If you've got a Bible, turn to Matthew chapter 25, guys. I just feel like today is a really powerful, anointed kind of day. It just feels amazing. Matthew 25, verse 14. This is Jesus talking about a whole bunch of parables. Lord, help us to understand your words, God. Lord, help us to live your words. Lord, help us to speak out your words over our lives, God. I pray, God, that we would not have a thought in our heads that is not in yours about us. And that truly we would be in the vine, grafted in, are fully connected, with your life flowing through us, bearing fruit. Fruit that will last, as it says in John. Fruit that will last. Alright, so Matthew 25 verse 14 says this again. It will be like a man going on a journey. He's talking about the kingdom of heaven. He's talking about the kingdom. He's talking about kingdom principles here. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, and a talent is kind of like a massive amount of money. Think of it like a bag of gold. I think in the NIV, the new NIV actually just says bag of gold. 5 bags of gold, is that right? Yeah, thanks. So to one he gave 5 bags of gold. I'm just trying to find where I'm up to. Then he went on to his journey, and the man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more, but the man who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5, and he said, "Master, you've entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I've given you 5 more." His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." The man with the 2 talents also came, and he got 2 more, and the master was happy with that. He put him in charge of more things as well. Then the man who had received 1 talent came, and "Master," he said, "I know that you're a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you." His master replied, "Well, that's not too bad. Thanks for that. Thanks for hanging on to it for me." That's not what it says, does it? I'm glad someone's reading their Bible along with me. Checking I'm saying the right thing, not making up stuff. It says, "You wicked and lazy servant. You knew that I harvest where I've not sown and gather where I've not scattered seed. Well then, you should have at least put the money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the other one who has 10. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him." Doesn't sound very nice, does it? "And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Here we have a footy player. He's a big guy, isn't he? Like he's a massive guy. He's obviously a talented guy. He's not just big, he's talented. He seems like a really nice guy as well. And he's handsome. I didn't notice that. A few people noticed that. Wasn't me. And so he's this guy, and he's just like, what am I going to do? He's just like, I'm just going to listen to God. He's just being what Miriam was talking about before. He's just saying, I'm in the vine. He's in the vine, and he's just listening to God. God speaks to him, and he's obedient. He doesn't even know why. He doesn't even know how. He's just like, I'm going to put John 3:16. He's thinking that will encourage someone. Maybe someone will look at it and maybe they'll find some hope in the Lord. But that first time, 94 million people Google it. just because he was obedient and used his gift to honour God. That's his gift, as well as many other gifts, I'm sure. And then later on, you know, like God just puts on the most dramatic of like, I'm going to make sure every single person knows. I mean, I love it when I look at the sky. You just wake up and, you know, early in the morning sometimes, go outside before the sun's up, look up and just go, wow. When no one's around, you look up and you go, that's incredible. And if you've watched any of those Louis Giglio videos, you'll see that in that galaxy. So, you know, millions of light years away, you know, that galaxy, the spiral galaxy. In the middle of that, you know, there's an image that kind of looks like it could be a guy on a cross. But then if you go into the smallest of minute details in our bodies, there's this thing called laminin, which is also looks like a cross. Now, I'm not saying it is a cross, but I'm just saying wherever we look, God likes to do things like this, doesn't he? He likes to kind of say, hey, you know what? It is a sneaky Jesus. You're right, Jeff. I mean, John 3:16. I mean, when John wrote John, he didn't label it. Okay, this is verse 16 now. Right? This is sentence 16. I'm up to sentence 16. I'm in chapter 3. You know, we did that years later so that we could find it quickly. Because we like, this is an important book. This is a book, and we want to be able to find particular parts of our book, you know, really quickly. I mean, who's read a really big novel before and then thought, you know, I want to go back to that particular passage. I just want to read that one little passage. I haven't, because I just don't do that kind of thing. But you know, like the whole point of chapters and the verses in the Bible is actually just so that we can navigate it quickly. All right, let's turn to John 3:16. Everyone knows where it is. Does that make sense? That's the reason why we have it. And so, which was created hundreds of years later. But here God is using that and using how he's orchestrating how far this guy's going to throw the football on a particular night. Isn't that incredible? He's organised how many ratings are going to be, what the ratings are going to be. He's organised the time of possession that this particular football team is going to have. And it all lines up with some sort of variation of 316. And God is just shouting, if you're looking, here I am. I did a fact check this morning because I'm like, you know, just because it's on YouTube or on the internet doesn't mean I can believe it, right? Hands up if you've seen something on Facebook and while that sounds so cool and you've done a fact check on it and it was not correct. Right, anyway, I'm just going to say, don't share stuff until you've checked it. Because there's so much stuff out there that is just some, you know, 12-year-old kid has just said, oh, that's a great idea, I'm going to create that, people are going to share that, I'm going to be famous in a way, somehow, and, you know, it's just a ridiculous thing. Anyway, I fact-checked it, and a couple of reputable sources, you know, agreed with this is actually what happened, and including ESPN, which is like the sports coverage network. And apparently there was another thing that was 316 in there as well. I can't remember what it was. There was one more thing. And they spoke to the head of the footy, and in an executive meeting like during that week, they're like, did you hear about this thing? This is kind of crazy. This isn't a Christian website. This isn't a Christian guy talking, writing this particular article. And apparently the head of the NFL said, is that true? If it is, I'm converting. And so it's fully true. I mean, this is true. And he does this stuff all the time in our lives today. And here's the thing, there are so many people outside of this building who are not going to pick up a Bible and start reading. But we've got to stick in the vine, stay there, listen to him, be obedient to him, and he'll start doing things like this. And he'll use you, he will use you, he will partner with you to make sure that when people look at you, they're like, I need to know more about this Jesus. That is what we want in our lives. So there's talents here. Every single one of us has talents. Every single one of us has a talent. If you're not sure what your talent is, I know there's people here thinking, I don't have talents. Every single person here has talents. But there's some of you thinking, no, it's not me. And you know who you are right now, you're just like, You have talents. And I want to say that often your talents are things you do not recognise because it comes easy to you. I've had a lot of music lessons in my life, I've gone to a lot of music teachers in my life. And some of my best, the best musicians that I've been to have been the worst teachers ever. And part of the reason is they had no idea what they were doing, how they did it. But they were just amazing. I remember going to one teacher he's a world famous piano player, and having lessons with him. I had weekly lessons with him, and he's like doing something. I'm like, slow down, come on, stop for a second, that's awesome. What was that? So I don't know. Oh, I want to know how to do that. So I just do it. What do you mean you just do it? Tell me how you do it. I want to be able to do it as well. He's like, but I can just do it. So that's a talent, it's a gift, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we don't even realise what it is, the talents we've got. I didn't realise I was a leader until one of my mates actually turned around to me and said, you know what? Have a look behind you. I was just doing my thing. Do you know what I mean? I was just loving Jesus and doing what I was doing. And then I started a youth group in Borkham Hills, and it's just like, hey guys, who wants to do youth group? This is awesome, this is going to be fun. And there was a whole bunch of people following. I was just like, I didn't even realise. Because at that time it was like a juncture in what I was going to do for life. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking of going into music ministry because I love God. And I love playing the piano. And it's probably the only place I'll get a full-time job as a musician. As you know, it's not an easy gig to be a muso or to be in the arts and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, cool, that sounds like a good idea. I'd love to work for the church full-time. And my friend just turned around and said, you know what, you're limiting yourself. And we just ask God right now. Let's just pause for a second. God, what talent do I have? Don't think of those traditional. I mean, you can obviously there's those kind of things we think of as talents, but think of it more broadly than this. Anything that you're good at, or anything that you have at your disposal. Maybe your talent is being super good looking, ridiculously good looking. But in all seriousness, sometimes a talent is being an encourager. Sometimes a talent is just being somebody who could listen. Sometimes a talent is knowing how to make money. Being really good at that. All of that is actually different things that God gives us. And He gives us all at least one. At least one. And He promises here in Matthew 25 that if you steward that talent, He'll give you more. So the guy with 5 talents, he looks after it well. He stewards it, he nurtures it. He's given 5 more, and then he's given more responsibility. The guy that had 1 did nothing with it, and the Lord took it away. Or this master that Jesus is talking about. I mean, it's not God. We're not talking about God here, but there's an illustration that Jesus is using to try and teach us something. He loves us so much that he sent his one and only Son, that whoever would believe in him should not perish but have eternal life. Thank you. Thank you. Lord, I just pray that today that we would be intentional about staying as close to you as possible. That we would daily be setting aside time to listen to you, but all day being open to hearing from you. And Lord, I pray that you would give us the strength to do those things that you tell us to do. Lord, that you would help us to step out in faith when you show us what it is that you want to do. God, help us to be the only Bible that some people will ever read. Lord, there's a world out there that doesn't know who they are, has no idea that you're real. There's a whole generation that's growing up without hope. But we have the hope living in us. We have you living in us. Help us not to hide it, God, but to be strong and courageous and to live our lives worthy of the calling that you've given us. Help us, Lord, to live as royal children of the living God. Each and every day of our lives, Lord. Each and every day. Lord, help us to wake up desperate for more of you. Holy Spirit, I just ask that you would minister to us now. That you would speak into the very depths of our hearts, Lord. He says, don't fear. God, I ask you to fill us to overflowing, God, for the love that you have, the love that can only come from you, God, that just would be completely surrounding us. And that when we are walking down the street, people will be drawn to your love. When we're in our workplace, people will be drawn to that. When we are at our school, our uni, that people will be drawn to us, Lord. Help us, Lord, to know you better, to know you more intimately, to be grafted fully, and to be strong and courageous with giving our talents to you and saying, here it is, whatever that is. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I just want to thank Glenn. I remember last year when Pastor Martin come to church over at C3 at the library, and he spoke to Glenn about being in the boat, and it's time for him to step out of that boat. And you stepped out of that boat. He said to look behind you, but look in front of you. And you're our leader, mate.
Steve, no, Belle's not here. She's with kids.
Yes.
Just want to pray for you guys. These guys are going on holidays for 2 weeks. So, just want to thank you guys. Like Jeff said, amazing. Jeff jumped up and took the words out of my mouth. But just want to thank you guys for just the way you serve this place and your heart for God and for the people in this area. Just want to hope you have a great couple of weeks rest, relaxation, and just Lord, we just pray. As they travel, Father, you will protect them as they drive. You'll bond them together as a family as they're away, Lord. Lord, just pray to have just some great fun, some great times together. And Lord, of course, with you there, Father God, it's just going to be some awesome times. So, Lord, protection on them as they travel and bring them back safe to us, we pray in Jesus' name.
Thanks, Steve. You're a legend. And just before we go, I'm so excited about Vision Builders. I don't know if you can cast back to about 12 months ago when we did Vision Builders last year. Does anyone remember, I mean, it's a long time ago, what our kind of, tagline was? You might have to think of the brochure. Yes, Beth, there was a stake. I was putting a stake in the ground. Was our vision for that particular Vision Builders, and really felt like that was from the Lord. And one of the things that we said we'll put a lot aside to of that income was towards our own building. Putting a stake in the ground was like saying we're here to stay. That makes sense? Yeah. Like we've been a church plant, but we're not a church plant anymore. We're like, I feel like we're like teenagers. We're just starting to stretch our legs a bit and start to, get into almost into full adulthood sort of thing as a church. So putting a stake in the ground was the Vision Builders. And when this opportunity came up, we had the resources to say, yes, we can do this. So it's God has really blessed last year's Vision Builders. And for me, it's not even about the money. It's actually about spiritually we made a decision. We're going to put a stake in the ground, and we're going to sacrificially give to that, and we did. And God is blessing. Isn't He good? Well, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have some food, enjoy. Libby has done an amazing job sitting on that table tennis set, so if anyone can beat me, I will give you $2.